Chapter 9, Section 10 in the 8th grade note-taking guide is entitled Choosing the Best Representation of Data. So now that we've made all the different graphs that we know and love, now it's talking about when, once again, as we saw last year, to use each one of these graphs. When is the best time to make each one of these graphs? Now that is not actually presented to you in your note-taking guide. However, it is presented to you in your book on page 510. If you look at the second table on the page, the one that runs across the whole page with the green bar at top, it says type of graph and common use. There is a descriptor of each type of graph and when to use each type of graph. So what it says here is if you're making a line graph, you should use a line graph when you're looking at data over time, which is something you should hopefully remember from last year. A bar graph shows relationships or comparisons between groups. So when you want to look at data in distinct categories, that's when you're making a bar graph. Circle graph compares parts to a whole. So when they indicate that something is going to add up to 100% here, that would be a good time to use a circle graph, or represents 100% for that fact. A histogram shows the frequency of data divided into equal groups. So when they're talking about frequencies or when they divide things up into even-sized groups there, histogram is always the winning answer. A box and whisker plot shows the distribution and spread of data. So box and whisker plot's going to come and play when they start talking about medians probably. Line plot shows the distribution of data when they want something that actually displays the actual numbers that are on the graph, every single one. That's going to be a line plot. And a scatter plot shows the relationship between two data sets. So when you want to have two pieces of numerical data that you want to compare, always go for the scatter plot. So here, when they're asking us, number one, which graph is a better display of data on temperature, all right, as you can see here, the line graph here is looking at the data over time. So that would make sense here. Whereas the box and whisker plot that you see at the top is just presenting different medians here. We don't know of what. We can see from looking at the line graph that it's the different temperatures throughout the day. But looking at the box and whisker plot, we don't know what those temperatures mean. There's no indicator there. There's nothing that says that these are the temperatures for the day or anything like that. Whereas the line graph does show me that. It even says it in the title and gives me labels on the X and the Y axis. So here, the line graph is going to be the better representation of what's going on here because it's showing the data over time, and we can actually know what that means because of the labels on the graph. All right, as we take a look at number 2, number 2 says the Singer family keeps the budget shown below for their monthly expenses. Choose an appropriate data display and draw the graph. Which two categories account for 1/5 of their budget? So we're looking for something that adds up to make 1/5 of the total data set here. Well, because we're making a comparison to the whole, trying to find how much of the whole budget is going to be that 5th group here. All right, we're talking about percentages and wholes. That's going to be a circle graph. So here, that's what they're going to have you doing, is sketching a circle graph and then analyzing that circle graph. So as we take a look at the top of the next page here, we're going to go ahead and talk about making that circle graph. Now, we haven't really spent any time making circle graphs. We've analyzed circle graphs, but we haven't done that. So just in case you've forgotten here, let's go back and look here at this data set and make sure you know what you're supposed to do here. If you want to make a circle graph of this data table here, the first thing you want to do is go ahead and add up these numbers.